Hey everybody, thank you for joining me on the first live stream. I hope everybody is looking okay. Let me know if you can hear me down in the comments. Hi, Uri, I hope you're good. Just let me know if you can hear me. This is the first live stream I'm doing, so sorry if there are some technical difficulties and stuff like that. So let me know. The music is playing in the background. Is the music loud? Just send me comments just so that I can see what's going on. And I see there are a lot of you watching. This stream is going live on YouTube channel as well as on a Facebook group. And in this first live stream, we're just going to, oh, thank you, Uri. In this first live stream, we're just going to do this design of a task tracking dashboard design. And in the next live streams, we're going to do portfolio reviews. We're going to do some resources for designers and some ways for you to get a job in the industry, for example, to help you with your portfolios and stuff like that. So, oh, thank you. Thank you, Miken. So in this first live stream, as I said, we are going to do this task tracking dashboard design. And let me know in the comments if you want your portfolio reviewed at the end. And sorry if I can catch all of your comments, because as I said, this is the first live stream and I'm looking literally on 50 different screens and all kinds of different pages. So without any further ado, let me first hide this thing from here. So just give me a second. This, and let me show you what we are actually going to be designing today. So let me switch this. Hopefully you can see my screen. So as you can see, this is just the basic sort of design for the dashboard, because a lot of you guys asked me in the comments of my YouTube videos, can I do a dashboard design? Can I create something like this again? Because I think I only did just one dashboard design tutorial. These things take a lot of time to create, and especially if you don't have a project in mind, but you're doing something like I do for these tutorials, you just come up with some random ideas. So it's quite difficult to determine where this design is going to go, what you will do with this design at the end. So that's why it's difficult to come up with these dashboard designs. But here we are doing this task tracking dashboard design, and I hope you will like it. And as I said, if you want to follow along with the complete design, there is a project file in my membership, so you can join. There is a first comment in the chat, and I see a lot of you guys are in the chat. Thank you, Uri. So you can check it out if you want. If not, you can simply follow along with your own resources. Just check some tips and tricks here and there. And we're not going to create some crazy animations, just perhaps this hover effect on this button for this first stream, because as I said, I just want to see how all of this works and if it works at all, if you guys are interested in these live streams. So for this first one, let's do it like so. So I'm going to close myself, and you can see that this is the project file. This is the starting file. So once again, if you guys are interested, you can get this practice file in my membership. So alexondesign.co, and already left a link. So if you want, you can check it out. Click there to get it, and you are going to get all of the practice files that we used so far to create these tutorials. But as I said, if not, you can simply follow along with the resources you have and just prepare like it is right here. So to get us started, I'm not going to talk way too much and waste too much of your guys' time. So what we are going to do is, this is 1920 by 1080 artboard, and as you can see right here, I have 12 columns. I have gutter width of 60 and column width of 83. So these are just some basic settings, and let me actually go ahead and reduce this down further just so that you guys can see what I'm creating right here. And the difference here is with these margins left and right. So if we hover right here, you can see that the right margin is 64 and the left margin is 200. This is just so that we can get this space. If you can remember from the original design, let me bring it back right here, just so that we can get this space right here on the left hand side for this sidebar, because we need the place to put these icons, and that's why we created these, just so that we can have an empty space right here. In this practice file, as you can see, we have all kinds of different colors, character styles, we have different icons. So without any further ado, let's quickly get started. Let me quickly check on the chat, so all of you guys are fine, and let's get started. So to get started, I'm going to create a rectangle like this, and let me go 1080 right here, because that is our size, like so. I'm going to place it right here. I'm going to remove the border. And for now, let's see, I can keep the color white, and I'm going to simply snap it like this. And let me actually see, let's go with 144. Like so, just so that we can accommodate all of these icons and still leave the space here in between our grid lines. And I'm going to call this sidebar BG. And for now, we're going to leave it like it is. But before we move on, I actually want to include a background in here. So what I'm going to do, I have this image. Let me drag and drop it inside like so. And let me position it inside just so that everything fits nicely like this. Just so that we can see this sidebar background. And as you can see, I have this dashboard background. I'm just going to bring this in. And what I'm going to do on top, I'm going to create a rectangle like this in 1920 by 1080 like this. Position it just behind. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to call it blur BG or blur overlay. Like so, if I can spell it all today. I'm going to remove the border, and then I'm going to come right here to the background blur. As you can see, the image has popped up already, but we're going to increase some changes. So 45 for the amount, we're going to do 20 for the brightness, and we're going to do 90 for the opacity like this. So it's nice and visible in this space right here, and we can still have this sidebar BG on top. What I'm going to do is I'm going to group these, call it BG like so, and I'm going to lock it in place because we're not going to move it at all. It's going to just stay right there. Now we can focus on sidebar background, and for the sidebar background, I just want to reduce the opacity down to 60 like so. And what I'm going to do next is bring in some of these icons inside. So if you remember, as I said, from the practice pal, what we have right here is we have all of these assets. So we have all of these icons. So first of all, I want to bring in my logo, and I want to center it like so. Then I want to place it right here. Just let me check what I have. For the original file, it was 40. So I'm going to snap it right here. Shift 1, 2, 3, 4, because I want to have the 40 from the top. So that distance. What I have next is I'm going to have these icons included inside. So let me bring in my dashboard icon. Let me find it in here. Dashboard icon, here it is. And I'm going to bring them all in place. So we have the chat, we have the stats, and finally we have the calendar. And at the bottom we have logout icons. And finally, what I want to do is I want to have this selector right here, just so that user knows once the icon is selected. So for that selector, I'm just going to simply use the rectangle. And what I'm going to do is use the main purple color, remove the border, and let's see for the dimensions. Let's go with 29 in width and 4 in height, like so. And I'm going to crank up to 20, for example, just to have these nice rounded corners. Now for the distance from here, let's go with 20. But actually, first of all of these icons have default state and they have the clicked state, because in the future we might actually continue with this. So we might add some animations, maybe some openers, stuff like that. But for now, as I said, we're just going to do it like this. I don't want to bore you guys too much with this. So if you're interested, let me know in the comments. If you want this design animated for the future, we can include some animations inside. But for now, as I said, let's continue with this. What I want to do is bring all of these icons inside. But before that, selector, just rename it. And I'm going to quickly organize them. So dashboard is at the top, chat is just below, stats, calendar, and finally logout is at the very bottom. This is going to go just below here. All of these are going to be centered like this. And what I want to do is simply position it to the center like so. And just to make sure, finally select these, position them like this. Logo is going to go on the top, and I'm going to finally put all of these icons into a group, call it icons. like so, and I'm going to include a stack like this. Now for the stack, what I want to do is I want to bring in some distance. So for example, for these icons, I want to have it be at 80. So I'm going to include my stack like this, so 80, but as you can see, I don't want this to be like so. So what I'm going to do actually is I want to make sure that this is at 20. So just double click inside. As you can see, all of these are at 80, but I want this to be at 20 like this. And finally, what I can do actually is I can remove the logout icon from here like so. And I'm going to snap it down, shift 1, 2, 3, 4, just so make sure it's 40, and just position it below here, just so that I can make sure that these icons are centered like so. And there we go. Basically, we have created our sidebar. Now we can group all of these items on the sidebar like this. And there we go. Now we can move on to these other sections. Now the first section I want to focus on is the search bar. So to create a search bar, I'm going to use a rectangle, and let's see what we can do. Maybe we can make sure it's 4 columns wide. So 1, 2, 3, 4, like this. And let's see, for the dimensions, what I can go is 512 with 60, like that. And let's see what I can do for this. So I use this outline gray. So I'm going to select my border color to be that. So simply outline gray, hover that, or you can right click and apply border color if that's something that you find easier. I'm going to also drag the search icon inside, position it in the center, and let's see, from there I can maybe move it to be 40. Something like that. So let's go back to here. This is going to be search BG. And we'll move this to be 40. See where it got. Way to here. I don't know why it escaped, but let's do it one more time. So 40 from here. Search bar is correct. And let's quickly check. Maybe we can make this search bar 5, like so. So just that we have these nice rounded corners. And let's see, we can create a text. So let's see, we can use a smaller text right here. Let me use my text tool. Search for projects, like that. And let's see, we can use this 18. Looks good. And let's see, 20, maybe 40. I think it looks good like so. So there we go. We have created this search background. Control G to group it, call it search. And I don't like it to be the distance of 40, so perhaps I can move it to 20. I think that looks much better. And let me quickly check on the chat. Hey, you're right. I know how to code, but as I said, I'm going to answer a few of these questions at the end. I'm seeing your comments, but I'm just trying to focus and design at the same time because it's quite difficult, especially because this is the first live stream. So as I said, I'm going to answer all of the comments. Hello, Ultranova33. I hope you enjoyed the stream. So let's now get back to it, and I'm going to go back to the comments a little bit later because I have a lot to come through for this live stream. So just stay tuned at the end. What we have right here is this avatar image. So let's now go ahead and create that. And for the avatar image, I don't want to go too crazy, so just a regular image. So let's select 60 by 60, like so. Position it right here. And make sure to move it all the way to here. I'm now going to duplicate it, and I'm going to call this indicator, like so, and this is going to be avatar. And this indicator, we can make it a little bit smaller, so 14 by 14, for example, and I can nudge it. You can nudge it to any corner, but I'm choosing to put it somewhere around here. I'm going to remove the border for all of these, and for the indicator, let's go with that green color. So indicator green, just to indicate that the user is online. And let me actually use a plugin for this. So I'm going to jump to my plugins. I'm going to go to UI faces, for example, use Unsplash, and I can go with filters, but I'm going to apply randomly because it doesn't really matter which face is going to pop up. So what we have right here is a woman. So instead of welcome back, Alex, I'm going to type in something differently. And let me group these. I'm going to call them avatar and save out my work just so that I don't lose anything. And now let's move on to the text. So for the text, what I'm going to type in right here is welcome back, Maria, because now we have a woman right here. And position it right here, Control D to duplicate it, and actually copy the original text which I wrote right here. So you have tasks waiting to be completed. So for this, what I'm going to do is OpenSAS 18 regular, this one. And for this one, I'm going to use this, like so, and exclamation point, for example, at the very end. And that's basically it. What I'm going to do next is just reposition it a little bit better. So this is going to be 40, like we did for all of the other elements. And this is going to be 20, like this. And let's put them in a group right away. I'm going to call this group welcome text. So, and position it just right here. And for example, I can call these two top info. Like this. And this top info is going to stay right here at the top. Again, if you don't like the width of this search bar, you can narrow it, you can extend it, you can do whatever you want. But for the sake of this tutorial, let's just leave it here. I'm going to use Control C and then Control V to copy this text, put it 40 down. So once again, the same distance as the top. And for this one, we're going to type in overview, because we're going to have some cards for us right here. And what I'm going to do actually is to create one card, and then I'm going to repeat it, because that's going to save me a lot of time. And I really recommend that you guys do too, because when you create one card, you can easily repeat it across your designs. So to get us started, I'm going to start by creating that card. I'm going to call it overview. So overview BG, let's create it. Because we have 12 columns, I'm going to use 3-column white design like this. And I'm going to go straight away and hit 5 right here, just so that I have a nice bit of corner radius. And I'm also going to go back to here, border color. I'm going to use this outline gray. So same like we did for here, I just want to keep it consistent and make sure we are 40 like we are right here. What I'm going to do next is jump in right here, call it overview BG for overview background. And I'm going to duplicate this text, and I'm going to make sure to change it. So to this right here, let's see, 18 regular, and call it total tasks completed. I can spell at all today, like this. So let's see, perhaps we can use a different color. Maybe I can use this darker gray, something like that. And for the overview BG, let's reduce the size to 171, just so that everything fits as it should. And let's see, I can now go ahead and duplicate this, Control D, and I can type in, for example, 2007, for example, for the tasks. And what I can do is make this a little bit bigger, so 30 bold, and I'm going to use this main purple, for example. And below that, we are going to have some percentages. So what I'm going to do is actually create a rectangle like this. And let's see, inside of it, I'm going to type in, for example, plus 12%. So this is in accordance to the last week. I'm going to use this as my text. And I'm going to change this to indicated ranges so that you can see it like so. Then for it, I'm going to go with 5%, 5 for the corner radius. And I'm going to call this, let's see, percentage BG, because that's our percentage. And of course, you can change this percentage to be weekly, monthly, yearly, however you want for these dashboards. And on this design, we're actually going for weekly, but as I said, you can change it to whatever you want, especially for your design. So going back to it, let's call it percentage. And I'm actually going to duplicate this text, move it down. And let's see, from last week. And let's see, for the color, what I can do is I can select this regular gray and make sure I'm 20, for example, from here. And let's see, for this indicator, for this percentage background, what I can do is play around with it a little bit. So let's go with 62 for the width, for example. I'm going to position this right here because I don't need it to be all that wide. I just need it to be kind of like a snippet of information for users to quickly glance and to understand. And I'm going to move it right here. I'm going to group these two, call it percentage. And what I'm going to do for this group right here is I'm going to include padding. So whenever I'm changing this padding, so whenever I'm typing right here, so for example, see, when you start typing, it's going to expand, which is great. So whenever we are changing this, it's going to expand in accordance to the spacing it has. And what we're also going to do is include a stack, as you can see, of 20, because we have the spacing of 20 between these two. And finally, what I'm going to do is simply position it 20 from the bottom right here. And I'm going to make sure that these are 10 like this. And I'm going to make sure that from here to here, we are 20, for example, like this. And let's actually go ahead and group all of these options. And before I do, I just want to quickly save out, because it happened to me a lot of the times. XD simply crashes if you don't save it out. So I really recommend that you guys do too. So going back to it, as I said, we are 20 here. And what I want to do actually is position it 20 from this left edge. But once again, before that, I want to position this here, percentage, and we have overview BG. So I want to group all of them and call it overview 1, like this. And now going back, I want to move it 20 from here. And finally, what I want to do is I want to include some kind of a chart. So I want to quickly draw a chart like this. So you can create whatever you want. And for example, here it's going to end, hit escape. And I'm going to change it to the round cap. And let's call it, for example, path. And I'm going to now create another one, which is going to be for the color. So I'm going to go from here to roughly around here, and then simply trace out this. And all of this is going to have a lot more sense in just a second when we actually go ahead and include colors inside. And this is going to be much simpler because all of these paths are going to change just a little bit. So this is going to be path color. I'm going to move it just below my path. And for the path color, I'm going to use gradient. So I'm going to use the fill color. Click right here. And then let's see, perhaps I can go with this main purple. So linear gradient, and I can select this main purple, for example, for both of my colors. And let's see, for this, we can go to something like this, for example. And let's see, reduce it like so, or even better, we can go to the other direction like this and reduce it that way. And perhaps I can even move this out of the way further like so. Finally, what I want to do is I want to go back to it. I want to choose my path and change it to something like 3 maybe, or if it's too big, then 2, like so. And what I can do is group them, call them chart, and then change the color of this top path to match this color. So right click, apply border color, as you can see. And what we can do is we can double click on these to make sure they are around it if we want to achieve a result like that. something like this. I can move this out of the way. And let's say that that's perhaps it. And now let's play around with this color. So simply adjust it to fill these gaps. And there you go. Now that that's completed, I can move it out of the way right here at the end. For example, I can position it in the center and I can move it 20 like I did for all of these. Now I can play around further and adjust these, so I can double click and make sure that we are right here in the center, because as I said, this is our first one and we are simply going to adjust all of these later. And what I'm going to do is perhaps on this first one, maybe I can reduce the opacity just a little bit, and perhaps I can move this inwards just a little bit, just so that we have that extra added effect that we wanted. And I think that's it. So perhaps I can even change it and play around with it just a little bit. So maybe I can change this to white and then move this back, just to have that nice glowing effect. And if you want more purple, you can bring this in like so. You can choose the angle, and yeah, let's call it a day. Let's say that that's it. So now that we have our overview background in place, hit Ctrl G to group it. Let's call this overview. And what I can do, because if I click right here, you can see that the gutter width is 60 between all of our columns. Then simply when you create a stack on it, make sure that the stack is 60 when you start duplicating. So Ctrl D, Ctrl D, Ctrl D, come right here, make sure you are 60, and all of them are going to be aligned perfectly like so. So let's see, this is our first one, second one. So make sure this is number 2. This is going to be number 3. And finally, this is going to be number 4. So now that that's completed, we can move on to the next section. But before we do, let me quickly check on the chat. Hey guys, I hope you are fine. I hope everything is working as it should. And I hope you guys have a nice day. Let me know in the comments where you are in the world, where you're watching this stream from, and what time is it at your place, because I would really like to know. It's 4:30 p.m. here in Serbia, so I'm really interested to know what time is it there. And we are 30 minutes in already to this stream, so I better hurry up to finish up this design. So going back to it, what I want to do is I want to continue building this design. So let me take a sip of water quickly. And continue with it now that it's saved. So what I'm going to do is create some tabs at the bottom. So these tabs are going to serve just for these other ones. So let me quickly show you that in the original design, just to refresh your memory as to what we are creating. So we're going to create these tabs really quickly, just because these tabs are going to help user understand at which stage their task is. So is it in process? Is it completed? Or is it for the future task? And finally, we have this button right here at the left. That button is going to help them create a new task and basically start their process all over again. So let's close that and let's start with that process. So I'm going to use my T, type in progress, like that. And let's see, this is too big, so let's go with 18 bold. Let's see, like this, and I'm going to use this main purple color for it, like so. And I'm going to position it right here, and let's check it out. Maybe we can have it be at 40, but we're going to include a button right here. So actually, let's go ahead and create that button. So button is going to say create task, like so, and position it roughly around here. So let's create that button. It's going to be 2 columns wide, like that. And let's actually use this deep blue main color for it. So let's see, create task. I'm going to position it right here, make sure it's white, like so. And for it, I don't want this to be bold, I just want it to be regular. So 18 regular, make sure it's white. And let's see, for the button itself, What I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that I'm 5 for the corner radius. I'm going to remove this border color because I don't need any border on it. And what I'm going to do next is I have this plus icon right here. So I'm going to include it inside like so. And let's first see for our button. I don't like these dimensions, so let's go with 60 like this, much better. And let's select all of these items and our button, position everything to the center. And let's see, now we can make sure that this is, for example, 20, because you can see the pattern right here. Everything is at either 20 or 40 or something like that. So we are going to continue that pattern just for the sake of our design looking coherent. Control G, I'm going to call this BTN. And let's see right away, we can create that component for the hover. So let's see, I already have the component right here. So I'm going to remove it. Just let me find it. Here it is, delete. And I'm going to select my button, hit Control K to create a component. Then go right here to the hover, call it hover. And inside of the hover, the only thing which is going to change is this purple color to indicate that you are hovering. And let's quickly test it out, see how that looks like. So there we go, we have this nice hover effect. And finally, what I'm going to do is make sure I'm 40 from here. And then I'm going to simply align my text and my buttons, select both of them like so, make sure I'm 40, I am, and now we can continue with this. So let's actually leave all of this where it is, and I'm going to continue with this text. So we have in progress, and this is going to say completed, like that, and let's quickly change the color to regular gray. Control D, put it right here, call it future tasks. Like so, and let's organize them a little bit like that. And what we need is the selector. So I'm going to actually go back because I'm lazy at the moment. I'm going to use this selector, Control C, and right here, Control V, paste it in. And let's see, perhaps I can position it to be at 20 like this. And I can make sure just that the width is the same as this text. There we go, and simply group it, call it tabs. So once again, users can select between these tabs, they can click, they can change to in progress, completed, or future tasks. So now that that's completed, what I can do is perhaps align these a bit better, like this. Make sure I'm 40, I am, and now we can move on and continue. Before I do, I want to group this, so make sure to call it overview, like that. Tabs are below, button is below, and now we can move on with these tasks below. So the first task on the left actually is going to be this main task, which is going to actually comprise of all of our tasks. So what we have finished, what we have created, what we still need to create. So all of that information is going to go there. And then we're going to have more information to the tasks on the right. You're going to see all of that in just a second. So if we go back to it, what we need is the task overview. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a background once again. And let's see, maybe we can go with 6 columns wide, like so. And I can go with 5, for example, for the corner radius. Let's go with that border color. So outline gray, apply border color like that. And let's call this project BG. Like this. And let's see, position it to be 40, and let's see, that can be 382 in size, like that, still 40. That's great. So now that we have our project BG, as I said, what I'm going to include now are all of this additional information all about this project. So let's now continue with that. I'm going to type in project in progress, like that, and that's going to be 14 because this should be really small. And let's see, for example, outline gray, maybe we can use that I think that works well. So position it here to the top and 20 on each side. So 20 down, 20 to the left. I'm going to hit Control and D, position it right here. Make sure now to right align my text and make sure I'm 20 from here as well. And we're going to type in some deadline. Example 28th of November this year, like that. And let's Control D right here, call it car market website design, like that. And let's choose 30 because we need it to be really huge. So let's go with 20 distance right here. Let's check it out one more time. Adobe XD is giving me a hard time, like that. And now that that's organized, perhaps I can put them straight into their own background. And let's call this task overview. And let's see, I can, for example, duplicate this, put it right here. I can make sure I am regular like this. Or I can even go smaller, let's see, 18. No, I think that's fine. We're going to use main purple and say for tasks left to complete, like this. Let's see, that can be 20 as well, so just keep the same consistency like that. And now we have to create these tasks, but before we do, I'm going to hit Control D, position this down 20, and I'm going to say 20% completed. And I'm going to hit Control D one more time, make sure I am 20 from here. Use this gray color for this and say, for example, mark as complete. This, so right aligned 20 like so. And what I have right here is this checkbox, so I'm going to simply place it right here, make sure I'm in the center, and let's see, from here to here I can position it to be 20 like this. And let's position these two, hit Control G, call it checkbox. Like so. If I can spell at all today, I'm not really good at spelling at the moment, it seems. So what this checkbox does, as you can see, it's just clickable. So it doesn't have that big of an animation. Basically what it does is it has two states. It has a clicked state and it has this regular state. So as you can see, for the clicked state, it just filled in this green background with a white check mark. But when you click on it, this default state only just shows this outline of the checkbox itself. So if we go back to our design, as I said, I'm going to place it right here, 20, and we can make sure that this is actually 20, like this. So let's see. Then I need to make sure that these two are centered like so, and I'm going to simply align them a little bit better. So this is going to go down, and these two are going to go up. So project in progress, this is going to come right here, and 4 tasks left to complete. And now it's time to create our actual tasks. So what I'm going to do for these is I'm going to use rectangles once again. So I'm going to use a rectangle and go back to here, 5 in radius, white for the inner color, so for the fill color, and I'm going to use outline gray to apply as border color. Now for the dimensions, I'm going to go with 163 with 118 like this, and I'm going to just make sure that I am in the center between these two. So actually no, because we need a progress bar right here, so I'm going to go with 20 from here. I think that's going to be just fine. So what I'm going to do is duplicate this text, position it right here, and let's see, how can we call this, for example, small task background like this. And let's see where our text is. Here it is, right there, and group it. Call it project task 1, because that's our first task. And what I'm going to do for it is going to use this smaller text because I think this is too big, so 14. And for this first one, let's go with this regular gray, call it finish. Design brief, like so. Control D to make a copy, and this at the bottom is going to be a lighter gray. So let's go with outline gray, for example, like so, and call it 3 days left. Like so, and let me quickly check the chat. Hi from India. Oh, it's 8:15 there. Oh, thank you for watching this late, man. I really appreciate it. So let's go back to our design. So we have 3 days left, and what I'm going to do is position it 10, for example, from the bottom edge, like this. And let's see, maybe we can put them 20 on this edge, like this. And finally, I can make sure that these two are separated by 10 once again, like that. And I'm going to now include these icons. So I have a design brief icon. I'm going to place it right here. Let's see, the distance from it and the icon can be 10 as well. Let's see, like this, and then like this, and there we go. Now if I test it out, yeah, everything is in the center. So project task 1 is completed, and let me quickly change these two, like so. So what I'm going to do is now put it in a group, for example, and call it project tasks, like so. And now include a stack like this. And for that stack, we can go with something a little bit smaller, but first let's create 4 of them, because as I said, we're going to have 4 tasks, and I'm going to use 35, for example, just so that it fits really nicely down to here. It's 20 here, it's 21 here, but it doesn't really matter. So this is number 1, this is number 2. Still can't spell today, I don't know what happened. I'm usually quite decent when it comes to spelling, but seems today is not my day. So it's number 4 right here, and there we go. Now I simply have to switch around a few of these. So this is going to be 14, for example. This is going to be 28, because on the left side are the tasks which are closest in deadline, and on the right are the tasks which have the longest in deadline. So obviously right here design brief is going to come in really quickly in the project, obviously at the start of the project, and then these later on we're going to include a style guide creation. Style guide can come at the end of the project. Obviously you can start it during the project, and I really recommend that you do. And you know, if you took any of one of my big courses and master classes for Adobe XD, you know that it's always a good idea to start with the style guide at the start of the project and then simply evolve it during the project. So let's now continue and add more of the information inside. So I'm going to type in mood board research. This is going to say start wireframing. And finally, this is going to say style guide creation. Now, as I said, you can start with the style guide at the beginning of the project, but the final creation is going to be at the end of the project, because that style guide is what developers are going to use for the icons, for the colors, for the fonts and stuff like that. So if we continue now, we have these as components. Let's switch them out. So here what we need, let me quickly select it. We need a mood board icon, so simply drag and drop it into place. That didn't work, so let's test it out one more time, like this. So we have a mood board icon. What I need right here is the wireframing icon. Just make sure it's blue and it hovers when you drop it. And finally, we have the style guide icon right here. So drag and drop it into place. And there we go. Let me quickly check. Yeah, it changed the name, so that's good. And now that this section is completed, what I need right here is simply a project bar, a progress bar, I should say, because that progress bar is going to actually determine at which stage you are at the moment of this project. So once again, we're going to use our trusty old rectangle tool, but not here. I'm going to close this and simply put it right here. So from end to end. And let's see, I can use something like 20. For the color, let's actually call it first. So I need to save out my document first because it keeps crashing like that. Let's test it out now. It still doesn't work. So this is the trouble with XD, that you're going to come in from time to time. You're going to see all of these issues, so I can rename it. So let's try that again. Progress bar BG. It works now, it seems like. Control D, and this is going to be progress bar. So just a filled in color. Still can't rename it for some reason. There you go. So now this color is going to be this purple without any border, and this background color, let's test it out like this. Let's see, it's going to have the outline gray, apply border color, and it's going to have a fill color. Let's see, super light gray, for example. I'm going to use that. And for this, let's see, this can be something like 168, like that. And both of them can have the height of 10, like that. And let's position them in the center. So 20, and we are 23. We are 20 right here, so we are actually good. And let me group these two. I'm going to call them progress bar, like that. And now let me quickly organize these things really quickly. So what we have right here is we have project in progress, deadline, car website design, tasks. I'm going to move this down right here and switch these two around. Tasks overview, move it just below our button, and there we go. So I really recommend that you always do these things when you are designing, just because it's much simpler to fix them when you get started than later on if you need to make some additional changes. So let's see what we can do more right here. Let's see, let me quickly check the original design. Let's see, from here to here I'm 34, so I'm going to fix that. And 49 down here, but that doesn't matter because I'm 40 here. This is 40, this is 40, 40, 40, and finally, oh, this is 32. So I need to fix this actually because our logo is 40. So let's move all of our content, and that's why we locked our background so that we can select all of our content and just make sure we are 1, 2, 3, 4. We are 40, so this is aligned, and now we are 41 down here, so just 1 pixel difference. But because this area is usually a scrollable area anyways, because a lot of this information is going to be contained right here, users will be able to scroll, especially when there are tables right there, when there are calendars right there, especially for scheduling tasks, stuff like that. So all of that content is going to be scrollable anyways, so it doesn't really matter if you missed a pixel here and there. Finally, what we're going to do is create these 4 tasks right here on the right, because we presented them right here and we know that 20% completed is the entire project, but I want to give a deeper view and deeper dive of this project by creating these 4. So what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to draw an area like this, make sure it's 3 columns wide, and let's call it task BG, like this. So what I'm going to do is actually select this mark as complete, and I'm going to select this, and let's see, select, for example, this text. So these 3, hit Control C, come right here, hit Control V. And before I start playing around, I just want to quickly change this. So 5, and let's see for the dimensions, 369 width 171, like that. Make sure we are 5, like so, and make sure to go right here, use outline gray, apply border color like that. And now we can start with playing around with these details. So let's see, I can position it right here. Now what I can do for this one is I can actually make it 14, for example. So this doesn't need to be this big. So let's see, maybe we can make this 14 and leave this 18. So let's see how that looks like. So 14 regular gray, I think that's good. 20 from here, and simply move this to be 20 as well. Make sure we are in the center like that and position it to be right here. So 20, 20. I think that's going to be just fine. Now I'm going to use this one, make sure I'm in the center. Once again, make sure 14, use main purple and call this 60% completed. And let's see, I can actually ungroup all of these items because I don't need them to be in a group. I'm going to put them in a group a bit later. So once again, these two, make sure they are centered and just make sure that this is a 20 from here. What I need next is this to be a darker color. So this dark gray, for example. Finish the design brief. And you have 3 days left, for example. Use this regular gray for it and make sure it's right aligned. Sure, I am 20 from here. I'm 20 from here. I'm 20 for these two, like so. And finally, what I want is that progress bar once again. So instead of creating it again, what I need, actually, I don't like how this turned out with the outline color. So perhaps we can change this border color or remove it altogether. I think it works much better like this. So hit Control C, copy it, jump in right here, Control V to paste it, and make sure to position it right here. And let me quickly check. Yeah, so I can go with this one and adjust the width a little bit like this. And actually, let me check. In my original design is 329. So let's see, 329 like that. And this can go, because it's 60%, it's not exactly at half, but somewhere around here. So progress bar. And let me actually nudge this in the center between these two. And another easy way is to use a rectangle. Make sure to position it right here, select these two, place this in the center, and then remove the rectangle all together. So finish the design brief is going to go to the top, 3 days left, progress bar, 60, checkbox, that's it. Control G on all of them and call this task 1, like that. And what I'm going to do next is, because we have this overview task, task BG, actually I should put that inside and on the bottom, like that. What I did in my original design, because I don't really like this white color, it's really too distracting. So what I did is I lowered the opacity on all of backgrounds. So what I'm going to do is come right here to the overview. I'm going to open up all of these backgrounds, select them individually like this, and hit 6 on my keyboard to lower down the opacity to 60 to increase the transparency. And as you can see, design looks much better straight away. What you can also do is jump inside the color of each of them. So ORBG, you can jump into the color itself and lower that down to 60% if you want. But actually, let's actually do that just to show you how that is going to look like. You're going to basically have the same effect, but you're just going to simply lower it down right here. So 60, like this. As you can see, the same effect. So come right here to color, 60. Do the same for this one, 60, and finally do the same for this one. And there you go. Now we have that glass effect, glass morphism, however you want to call it. It's extremely popular these days, but let's see how that lasts. So let's see, we have here's story 1. Should actually lower that down. It's battling with me on today's stream. So 60, there we go. And the only thing which is left for me to do, Project BG, click right here, 60. And finally, before I create all of these other tasks, Select this one, hit right here 60, and there we go. So now that this task is created, what I can do is use either a repeat grid, which I'm going to do actually, and create 4 copies. There we go, on group grid. So this is task 4, like this. This is task number 3. This is number 2, and this is number 1. Let's quickly organize them. I don't know why, but XD keeps battling me today, so apologies for any kind of glitches. So let's quickly organize them, position them where they should be, and let's quickly fill in the rest of this information like this. I'm going to place these two down below. So now that we have this nice spacing, everything is breathable, and we are 40 from here, 40 from here, so spacing is on point. This is going to say mood board research. Like that, we have 14 days left. We are at 40%, and I can lower this down a little bit to something like this, for example. This next one is going to say start wireframing. Say 28 days left, like so, and this is going to say 20% completed. So once again, we are going to from most recent and most completed all the way down to least completed. So because it's 20%, we can lower it down to something like this, for example. And finally, this last one, style guide creation. And that's going to say 64 days left, like so. And that one is going to say 5% completed, just because, as I said, this is going to be the least recent one, so something like this. And instead of task 3, task 4, you can actually write what it says. So style guide creation, you can call this group like that if you want to, but let me quickly group them, call it tasks. And let's see how can I organize this so I can put all of these things in a group like this, and I can place them right here just below my tabs. And let's see, I can call it project tasks, for example. So let's give it a name, project tasks, like this. And let's quickly organize them. So task overview is going to go right here, and there we go. Basically, that's our design completed. As I said, for today's stream, nothing really too fancy, so everything is going to be more or less really simple. So finally, to preview this, what I can do is click right here just to show you these icons, but you already probably figure out what they do. So what we have is this hover effect, and finally on each of these, users can click. And as I said, if you want, let me hide myself because you cannot see this last one. Users can click right here and to complete these, to mark them as complete. So in the future video, perhaps we can maybe add an animation. So when I click right here, this one is going to disappear, and these other ones are actually going to collapse and change order, for example, or something like that, with components. And basically that's it. You can mark as complete on this one. And basically when you start progressing on these four, then this one is going to actually progress right here. So maybe we can add an animation. When I click mark is complete right here on this first one, then this slider can move on further. So just let me know in the comments if you're interested for that. And one last thing actually I forgot are these ones at the top. So let me actually go back and fix them really quickly. So let me check this, and I'm going to hide myself for a second, save my document. So these should say different things, obviously. So total tasks completed are not for all of them. So this is going to say total app sessions. This can say total per week, and this can say average completion, for example. And where this is going to come in handy is right here. So first of all, I can type in, for example, plus 24, just so that you can see how all of this reacts in real time. This can be, for example, -8. So -8. And I can also click right here to switch the color to this indicator red, because once again, this is minus, so it's negative values. And finally, this last one can say, for example, minus 5%. You can see how it reacts. And for the color, we can also change it to red from last week. So this can say, for example, let's say 26. This can say, let's say 12. Look here, total app sessions 142 from last week, so on a weekly basis. And finally, what we can do for these ones is actually change these. So I can double click right here, adjust it to something like this. For example, maybe I can go a little bit higher, and then double click on my background and simply adjust it really quickly, just so that we don't lose too much time on it. Something like this, for example, and you get the idea. You can go right here and adjust this one as well, which is why we created them in the first place, to allow us to work much faster and not to think too much about all of these things. So I can double click on the background and simply adjust them really quickly, and that last one I can keep in place, maybe at the edge. And you can also select multiple dots if you want to move multiple dots at the same time, if that's something that you want. So let's go ahead right here. And finally, for this last one, I just want to, actually let's just leave it as it is, not to waste too much time. And there we go. That's our dashboard completed. Once again, if you want to get this file, you can go to my membership and get it there, alongside all the other courses, practice files for these YouTube videos on my channel. I created, I think, something like 20 or 30 these practice files so far, and every single tutorial that has practice file, we're going to continue and keep adding these practice files in. It has over 30 courses at the moment, 500 plus design products, and of course private access to the Facebook group if you're interested. And now basically that's it. So this is our design completed. As I said, if you're interested, let me know. Should I animate this? Should I add some kind of animations, maybe sliders right here? And for these completions, perhaps we can add different components with different component states, maybe hover effects for these icons right here. But we are already 1 hour past on this stream, so this is for the first one. Actually, it's quite complicated designing these dashboards, because as I said, usually there are a bunch of these different changes, and you have to include all of these changes to make sure that everything works logically. It's not just like a regular website where you can do whatever you want with it and actually basically be creative with these dashboards. You really have to know what you're doing. You really have to think in advance when you're creating these. So just let me know what should we do with these ones. So if you still haven't, make sure to subscribe to the channel. I upload videos every single week on Adobe XD, passive income design, motivation, freelancing tips, and much more. So if you're interested in content like that, make sure to subscribe. And if you're enrolled in one of my courses, you get access to the Facebook group, and we are streaming to the Facebook group at the moment. So let me know, guys, if you have any other additional questions. I would really like to know what you want me to create next. And thank you so much for joining me on today's stream. So Yura asked the question about coding. I answered that. Unlock Lord, hey there. And McKellen, so I basically answered all of your questions. If you want, as I said, make sure to send me your questions. Make sure to send me your portfolios if you want me to review them, to give you some design tips, to give you some advice if you're interested in that. And basically that's it for now. So thank you for watching, and I hope to see you once again in my next stream. And basically that's it. Thank you, and I'll see you next time. Take care.